wow, chat, look at this. Lords of the Fallen Studio says they will not integrate the very profitable and enriching culture of DEI in their games in order to maximize player enjoyment and commercial success. So why is this interesting? Because, it's not a AAA company. It's a small development company, small by industry standard. What I find interesting is that there is no screaming from the journalists. There is no reeing from the activists. Like, if they would have posted this in 2019, it would have been like, ree! And blacklisting and calls for censorships and calls to action and trying to harass their employees, trying to harass anyone associated with the company. And now it seems that the journalists are more concerned finding their own commercial success because they got their 2 viewers. And it's not sustainable, as the left likes to say. So this is what makes me notice that the change in culture is happening. It's not just the fact that companies are now associating DEI with, as you can see, lowering the player enjoyment and also lowering the commercial success, but also the fact that the activists are so demoralized that they're not even trying to fight this. And so I don't think like big corporations are going to change course soon because it's very difficult for massive corporations to change course. And it's also the fact that the reason they are into DEI is because of tax cuts, loans, government grants, so on and so forth. And so for the higher ups, for the shareholders, like DEI is profitable because they don't care if they sell the game or not. Like Dustborn is a good example. You don't care if they sell the game. But as time goes on, even they will have to renounce DEI if they want to survive because there's a lot of right-wing governments in the world right now. I mean, even Canada is going right-wing. So a lot of these grants that will give you tax cuts or even actual grants for championing diversity, inclusivity, and equity, even those are starting to dry up. And so there's a lot of, like, every single time I talk about this, there's the one guy, like right now, he's typing out, talk about bridge. I watch Kirsche, bridge. The thing with bridge or DEI or whatever you call it, it creates a shitty product. Like, it causes a race-based nepotism hiring. It doesn't focus on meritocracy. It doesn't focus on what the customer wants to buy. It promotes an aesthetic of ugliness. It chains the writer, doesn't allow them to make the stories that they want to write. And so even if you hide the DEI, even if you don't tell the customer, the product still ends up being shit and nobody buys it. The thing that a lot of people don't understand is that it's not that DEI, the ideology, was the sole reason why people stopped buying games. I mean, part of DEI was the arrogance, right? Like the community managers from hell that genuinely did their best in order to be cheeky little shits and destroy public relations where they could. And so, like, there were a lot of people that were put off by it. It's like, okay, so you are a DEI community manager. I will go out of my way not to buy your game. But those people were in the minority. Like, the vast majority of people don't buy these games because they're genuine shit. Like, no one wants the aesthetic of ugliness, of androgyny, of body type A, body type B. No one wants to touch that. And so you end up with people that would even the ones that would buy the game, even the ones that would touch it, because of the race-based hiring, a lot of these games didn't even work on launch. Like, you had games that tied their business strategy to allowing people that buy the deluxe edition to play like 2 or 3 days early, and the games wouldn't work on launch, so like completely destroying the reputation and the brand of that company because, again, the race-based nepotism hiring. So if they're trying to hide DEI, if they rename it, rebrand it, whatever they do, the effects are still there. The only thing that they could do is if the grifters are allowed to grift but told to shut the fuck up. Which I don't know if it's possible. You know, it's the same way like back in the day you would go to battle and donate some money to the church. And the church would say some prayers, but other than that they would fuck off and let the professionals do their thing. unless they can do something like that, just like have a diversity department that they lock away somewhere in the basement, but they're having it so that they can get access to the loans, and the diversity department just shuts the fuck up and allows people to do their job. Unless they do that, no, like they will still fail. It doesn't matter if they call it bridge or whatever. And so I do think that there is a change in culture, especially now that they're competing with China. Like, China was never renowned for making video games. Like, China was the country that was making knockoffs copies of World of Warcraft and phone games. And now they released Wukong, they got Path of Exile 2, they got Marvel. Like, even if the West decides to sabotage itself, I mean, for me as a consumer, gaming looks great. You know, the same way that I have a Chinese shirt, I'm going to have a Chinese video game. I prefer not to. I hope that America puts his shit back together and they manage to start promoting good games again. But now, regarding Lords of the Fallen and this interesting strategy of pissing on DEI, I think it's going to work for a while. I already see people that don't even know about this game saying, "Oh yeah, well we're going to buy it because they want to support companies that talk against DEI." So like for a while, it's a successful strategy, especially when like Lords of the Fallen, even if it did go DEI, it wouldn't change much. It's like correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't this like the Dark Souls type game? I may be wrong with that, but that's what I remember it for. And so it's the same with Elden Ring. Like Elden Ring is DEI infested. You still have body type A, body type B. Some of the people associated with the production were really big on diversity and shit, but due to the nature of the game, it's not really that visible, right? Like, no one cares, basically. It's not really a game like The Last of Us 2 or Tomb Raider, right? Like, where it's heavily story-based, tied to the character you play, and then you have the consultants that can nerf the tits, that can race swap, gender swap, right? Like they can't do that in Elden Ring. And so like games like that don't really matter if they are or aren't DEI, but again, it's the mindset, right? Like the fact that the company is basically saying that it's diminishing player enjoyment and it's against the commercial success. And this is, by the way, is very easily proven. If DEI was actually successful, if people legitimately wanted the pronouns and the trans flag and all of that, they would paywall those. Like, they would put it behind the paywall. You would have, like, the base game, and then you'd have, like, the paywall edition for the body type A, body type B bullshit. But the fact that you don't tells you that the companies are very much aware that it's not a popular marketing tactic. I don't think anything will change with AAA next year. Probably not much will change even the year after that. So maybe by 2027, we may actually see Western entertainment making good games based around how the new culture will function. Because like we don't know what the new culture will look like. We know now that the time of woke ideology is coming to a close. Some elements will remain, especially those tied to environmentalism. But many things will change. And I generally do not know how American companies are going to treat entertainment. Like what topics are going to be haram, what topics are going to be allowed. Will we see the return of the 90s where you can have like very sexy and hot female characters and over-the-top violence? Or will we see different avenues of censorship that didn't exist up until now? I notice a lot of censorship when it comes to anime. Especially episodes that have to deal with high school romance. Like, those are extremely unpopular in the West. So my point is, we may notice, like, different things. Like, stuff that wasn't censored up until now just being the new trend. Because there was always, like, some sort of censorship. Like, some sort of line that the culture doesn't like. And this was the case more often than not. When it came to America. Like, for instance, there was a time period where violence was completely censored. Like, almost no violence whatsoever. And then it was stuff that has to do with sexuality, like sexism and shit. And then it was, like, trans issues. So now we are at a turning point. it doesn't really matter what I think. I just can't predict it. We'll see. Let me know what you guys think, though. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.